Welcome back to Colorado Sports Connection. We're coming to you from Big Bill's New York Pizza in Centennial. Jim, when we last talked, we were talking about dealing with the media. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes you have to work with the head coaches and the players from biting their tongue.
Sometimes, and the PR person is kind of a middleman. You know, I've said that sometimes you can do your job and everybody's unhappy with you. Like the top player does a 10-minute interview, but he's mad because it was 10 minutes long. The coach is mad because it happened at all. The writer's mad because he only got 10 minutes, and they all express it to the PR guy. But it's a fine line. It's like driving a stick shift. The idea is to drive smoothly without lurching. And I know John Elway a couple of times, and when he retired, said it was very flattering to me, but he credited me for sometimes keeping him from putting his foot in his mouth, and sometimes you can't really say what you really think. You know, sometimes there's a stupid question, but it's not really to your benefit to say that's really a stupid question, which is another way of saying you're a stupid fellow. These are not advisable. So a lot of times it's easier to just go with the flow and answer the question the best you can, and move forward. And PR guy has to put himself on the line. One time a columnist had written some, I thought, particularly nasty things about John, just nasty. Now it's Sunday, we play the game, John gets dressed, I'm ready to take him into the media room, and he said, if so-and-so's in there, I'm not going in. So now it's one of those things you've got seconds to fix. And I said, I share your feelings about him, John, I share that. And you're right, but if you don't go in there, 50 guys are going to say John Elway didn't come in and talk to us. And they're not going to know what your reason was, but they're all going to be unhappy with you, and they're all going to write or say bad things. And so he bit his tongue, he went in, he answered all the questions professionally, and there was no problem, and that's the ideal way to be. But it is true that once in a while somebody says, I'm just not going to do it, and sometimes you don't do it, but a lot of times you sort of need to explain why, in the long run, it's better to go ahead and do it.
Now, you've had the privilege to know John Elway on and off the field, where the most of us only get to see John on camera or read about him in the papers. In your own words, don't describe John Elway, the quarterback, but John Elway, the man.
People know that John's a great player, and they think that he seems like a heck of a guy. And what I would say is he's a way, way better guy than anybody even imagines, because not only is he a great guy, a great citizen, the charities, a wonderful family, but you got to consider what he's been carrying on his shoulders all that time. Everywhere he goes, he walks in the door and people start to say, it's John Elway. It's John Elway. Let's go ask him something. Let's go tell him how much we love him. Let's go get an autograph. Let's go get a picture taken with him. And everywhere he goes, right now, wherever he is right now, that thing is probably taking place. And he's never been insensitive or rude or boorish. He's just continued to smile and say, thank you for asking. He signs, he poses, he shakes hands. How many times, Darryl? 1,000? No. 50,000? 500,000? I don't even know how many times. But that's a lot of times to be on, to be continually. When we step out of here today, we get to go do so with some anonymity. He doesn't step with anonymity. When he goes out one door, wherever he's just stepped into is the next place where there are people who are going to say, that's John Elway. And so he's really conducted himself with enormous class in the face of all that.
Now, you've been in this business quite some time. Now, when Elway first came into the league, did you ever experience anything like Elway mania with the media?
We've had this twice, John Elway and Tim Tebow, and I'm not trying to suggest that Tim Tebow is precisely like John Elway, but we have had it twice. But when John came, it was a first, and I still remember it was kind of funny. We had the first press conference. We had it at 10:30 p.m. because I won't bore you with it wouldn't be a bore, it'd be a great story, but more than 30 seconds, I'm afraid. But we signed him at night and did the press conference that night, 10:30 p.m. Of course, a lot of people couldn't even come in the media. So the next day we did another one about 1:30 in the afternoon. And walking back to my office after the press conference, I remember John said, boy, I'll sure be glad when all this media is over with. And Daryl, I just didn't, and I've told him this, I just didn't have the heart to say, John, it's never, ever going to be over for you. Anyway, but as I said, it just built up, and he handled it as graciously as possible. Oh, there were some interesting stories there, Daryl.
We were definitely lucky to have a John Elway as our quarterback.
Yeah.
And when we come back from our break, I want to talk to you about your dealings with the head coaches that
Sure.
you've dealt with that coach the Denver Broncos.
Great.
When we come back, we'll talk with Jim Saccomano right here on Colorado Sports Connection.